Darren Marsman is a stuntman in Canada. He played the maintenance man. And we had to create a very lifelike silicone head of him so that he could receive a mallet handle through the chin and out the top of his head.
Right through the head.
You know, when you make a life cast of somebody, you can only explain to them once what to do once they're under the alginate, and you hope that as a performer they can help you with the scene by adding something to it and helping you capture that look that's frozen in time and ultimately will be the selling point of the gag. So if it's a stupid expression, it's going to last a lifetime. And his life cast came out cleaner and nicer and more perfect and precise than any one I've ever taken or anyone that anybody in the shop had ever taken. So with Darren, that gag is so successful, and the blend between him and the fake head is so seamless because of what he did for us. We had him come back so many times and sit right next to the fake head while we painted and matched and hair for hair and color for color.
You ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
When they cut back to the actor, it's all one and the same when you see the scene put together. Usually when you do something like that, you kind of try and conceal it in a turn or a shadow or something swiping the lens or something. But he's just in all his glory there, and giant silicone fake head taking up the full screen and all lit and just look great.
Anytime, Darren. Action.
There was one stuntman by the name of Dave Campbell. The most obvious physical trait of his is he has no legs.
Action.
Dave Campbell's big scene was the garage zombie, and in fact, that was the first thing that he did do. The garage sequence is a big kind of turning point in the film. It's one of the first big scares once they're in the mall. The idea was that he was going to be coming down the pipes of the garage, hand over hand, with his legless body kind of trailing behind. And then from the pipes, he'd be letting go and grabbing the cast member and taking him down and biting him. They harnessed him and cabled a little bit of weight off his back and actually led him around with that. So it created this kind of freakish speed.
When he let go, they pull him down and whoosh, he landed on Barton. Shoot on him like that.
A classic example of how we were using people's physical attributes to create the character is the jogging zombie. He was missing his entire right arm from just above the elbow down, so we turned him into a freshly amputated bite victim. His makeup was relatively simple. It was a stage 1. It happens when the truck is coming into the mall. Whether it makes the final cut, I don't know, but he's one of the first examples in the script of a fast zombie, because you see him go from just kind of walking around, and then he spots our victims, and then he's doing 100 miles an hour.
Bloated Woman is not a woman. It's a guy, Ermis.
I think that Stoney, the stunt coordinator, thought he was going to have a hell of a difficult time finding a stunt woman who was big enough, who could play the part, because it involved a big fight scene. So they opted to go with a man and gave me the challenge of turning him into a woman. I think we probably had about 6 weeks to design and create and test, and then finally get him on set.
He has like a goatee, and he's like kind of tough looking guy in real life. He doesn't look like a woman at all. Thank God, right?
You can make somebody look like something, but unless they turn it on from inside, it's nothing. And whether we made him look like a woman or not, he had to play a woman. He had to be a woman. It came time to put the wig on him, and it looked horrible. So luckily we had a pretty good stockpile of wigs, and we started playing around with them, and we plopped this one on his head. It's kind of this scraggly, salt and peppery hair. As soon as we put it on him, the whole thing just completely came to life, and he knew it, and we knew it, and we were taking digital photos and showing them to Ermis. And as soon as he saw that it was something that he believed, this performance came out of Ermis that nobody knew was going to come out of him. And all his stunt friends were kind of ribbing him because he was so good at it.
Don't pick up my skirt.
I'm looking straight into your good eye.
Into my one good eye.
To transform her from healthy to dying was not an easy task because she was so beautiful. It was one of the principal characters who was in a zombie makeup that was not pre-designed in Photoshop. It was one of the characters that was shot in sequence, and we just let her evolve in her makeup day by day, just so long as one day was worse than the next.
I loved watching horror movies when I was a kid. I saw American horror movies translated in Russian, and they were still terrifying. I basically watched half of them with my eyes closed like this because I was so scared.
The character of Monica, we had to create a life-size, lifelike dummy of her because inside of the arcs, there's an accident and commotion, and a chainsaw kind of gets out of control and passes right through. We had to start off by taking a full life cast of her and recreating her whole figure with a silicone model. We had to be able to repeatedly shoot that scene. It was not a one-take deal. You couldn't put all this money into a dummy and then actually try and cut the dummy in half and hope that you'd get it in one. It had to be reloadable. The whole cut area is actually a cartridge that would fit down in there. And that cartridge was loaded with all the blood bags and goo and everything. After one take, after the chainsaw passes through it, that whole cartridge could come out and be replaced with a brand new one and touched up, and you could go for take 2.
Come on.
If you're a makeup effects artist and somebody comes and slaps the script for Dawn of the Dead on your desk, you're gonna kind of go, are you shitting me? Or are we really gonna do this? After I read that and got through the initial shock, I had a meeting with Zack Snyder, and he pretty much by himself acted out the whole script.
Action!
So I saw his whole take on everything, and it was given a 4-week window to create my test makeups, and we'd shoot them here in LA, and then we'd be off to start pre-production in Canada, and then 2 months later start shooting.
They really wanted my vision realized through their makeup, and I feel like they also added to it and like went vastly beyond what I thought was possible.
And my whole approach to the actual look of the zombies was making anything up. Day in and day out, we just based everything on reality. So we built up reference images of real victims and real time-lapse of decomposition. And it made a lot of us pretty sick occasionally. But if you continue to do it every day, you become desensitized to it, and it became just another canvas, just another palette, just another set of colors. Where in fact, even now, it's been 6 months, I look back on that and kind of go, ugh. Basing it on reality, there's no room for censors. The fact is, it was all really disturbing. So I figured that was the filmmaker's job to either shoot it or not shoot it, or show it or suggest it. But if we delivered what we intended to deliver, which were realistic looking zombies and horrific images, then it wasn't up to me to put it on camera. The burden was on them. My particular take on the actual look of the zombies was going to be broken down into 3 stages, and the first stage was the first act of the film, and the second stage is the second act, and the third final look of the zombies completes the film. You know, the first stage, the people that are in the beginning of the movie all kind of appear to be emergency room victims, or at least eligible to be seen in an emergency room.
The second you like come to, you're like a stage 1 zombie. That's with no decay, just the injury that caused you to become a zombie.
Stage 2 were those same people 1 to 2 weeks later. So all the color has come out of them, all the wounds have dried up and darkened, and all the blood and mess that happened when they were killed is now all dried up and flaky and black. Stage 3 zombie is basically everything is just falling off of them.
They have bits hanging off, and they're rotten, and they smell bad. They're just gross.
Their skin is drawn tight all around their facial features, and you accentuate those by adding appliances and getting certain high points in their face to really pop out. To do a stage 3 makeup based on our designs, it was a very complicated, usually over 2 hours, sometimes up to 4 hour long makeup with appliances and all these various applications on the skin.
This is what I always look like.
There was 4 months of prep getting ready for what would be these huge days.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
There was probably days when there was well over 300 in full-blown stage 3 zombie makeup. For the entire month of August, there was just this round-the-clock mill effect going on at our shop.
We had no problem getting extras. Everybody was like, yeah. Sometimes they'd come and they'd spend the whole night shooting, and they looked like they're having a good time. Even the people were like, they should never make this movie, but since they're making it, I really want to be a zombie.
We were painting people up and creating a factory where, you know, on a constant basis, we had to have zombies ready.
Just the volume alone is just, it's insane. But they were able to do that, and then also they were able to, when needed, get the detail of the individual zombies to be like, you know, spot on and awesome.
We had the zombie makeup room, we had the zombie makeup tent, and then we had the trailer trash zombies coming from our trailer camp. There was a crew of anywhere from 7 to 10 makeup artists who had 2 to 4 hours to complete what was called hero makeups. And the trailer zombies were complete with prosthetics and teeth and sometimes lenses. And then the makeup room zombies were paint job makeups only, with no appliances. And at any given point, you could have up to 20 makeup artists and 10 hairstylists in that room, processing extras to the tune of about 2 an hour. So we've got a lot of makeup artists coming in, and they don't have to bring anything. They just get their zombie kit. It's got their zombie palette in it, and all the colors are predetermined, and we give a little pep talk on what we want to emphasize that night, and then they come in and do it. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. We'd give them photographic references and say, you know, within these guidelines, within this face right here, go to town. So no bite here. He's had that traditionally. Just mess him up. Okay. Mangled, dead, dry. I'd have a line of 20 makeup artists with this customized palette in front of them. Some of them felt confined and some of them really excelled. Tents were where we would hand out the masks. There was 60 pullover masks, and there was close to 80 Halloween-type face masks that were all one-of-a-kind creations that we made in the shop. We made up our field of stage 3 zombies with the best makeups of the day, followed by the best masks of the day. Behind them, another set of masks that were a little less elaborate, and then behind them, the masses of extras who were in relatively simplified makeup. You know, they're all dealt with, and they were all put through the makeup mill. But if they called for everybody on set, and we still had 15 or 20 people that were not processed at all, we'd still take them all to set. We'd put them in the back, and while they're rehearsing, we'd walk back there with Hudson sprayers and blood and goop and vomit and gore, and we just muck them up from about 3 feet away. And sometimes those makeups worked better at a distance because they were bolder. You just hit them with this massive amount of goo.
It was hot too, so you had some of these guys out there in the middle of the day in the parking lot, like just cooking under these giant latex masks they were wearing.
The extras up there in Canada were great about coming back and repeating their role despite the conditions. We were lucky to have a lot of dedicated folks. head, dead. You gotta shoot him in the head to finally put him out.
If I ever turn into one of those things, do me a favor, blow my fucking head off.
So there was a number of ways that you can do that as far as head hits go. Whether the camera's super close or wide, or whether it was a principal actor or just a background person, all these different variables play into it to help you make the decision on how you're gonna actually achieve it. There were quick and dirty ways of doing it, and the special effects men in Canada called them kabuki hits, and it was basically just an air mortar attached to the back of the neck with a chamber of blood in it.
And there's a tube that comes up like behind your head, and right here there's a nozzle that sprays straight out that way. And then the guy has a trigger, he hits a button, and then blood sprays out the back. And it works best when you're against a wall or a door.
Action!
Now, Steve!
When you push the button, air comes flying through here, pushes everything out through this tube and all over the place.
The actors actually trigger it themselves remotely, or it can be also triggered by a remote control depending on what the actor's doing. Because a lot of times it's easier for them to hit the button and they know when they're going to react.
The ultra slime gives you that really gooey look, like the slimy stuff. And this will give you like brain matter and a big splasher. So it looks cool. On my off days, I make margaritas.
Just move your head around and see if that's comfortable, if we're choking you or not when you lean forward at all.
No.
That's all right?
Good, yeah.
Okay, good.
Basically,
No,
Steve
probably
gets
from my
a
fingertip
jet
to the end of
pack,
the tube.
and he flies away.
And then I can go.
Out
See
of
what
the scene.
happens when you...
Yeah, he's the Boba Fett of zombies, exactly.
3, 2, 1.
That's freaky, huh?
The other challenge was for on-camera exit wounds. The traditional is the squib hit, which is a detonated device on the back of the head with a blood pack. The result is a little cap pops and the plug flies out of the head. Burt Reynolds, he's played by one of the stuntmen, and we put the squib hit on the back of his head. But you can only get so big with those because you can't put that large of a hit next to the person's head. So we needed to come up with a way to basically pull more of the head off with the hit. And we devised this ratchet system. This is one of the plates that we designed so that the ratchet system could be used. And a cable would be woven through there and attached to the brain. And the brain is a rigid plate that on action gets pulled by an air ratchet, and when it's pulled off, it activates those flaps. And there's all kinds of stringy stuff that attaches this to this. Blood bags and slime and threads and yarn and all kinds of stuff. And the effect is horrifying.
It's an air ratchet driven by a dive bottle. Cable goes to the fixture on the head, and push of a button yanks it out at millisecond speeds.
You get our pick point nice and high, so we got a good trajectory and looks real. Great, good work. Now we're attaching our tagline to the prosthetic that's mounted to the top of the head. We're going to attach this to our ram line. We're going to fire our ram, which will pull this wire and rip the scalp off of our zombie, or have the appearances thereof.
1, 2, 3, bang!
Man, that's gross. Can you play both again, please? Oh, Jesus. That's like that. We got it? Where he is right now is perfect.
Shake it, lots of biting.
Action! And
Oh, I saw chunks. Oh, meat shot.
The character of Andy meets his maker when he's shot point blank. It was a silicone head. The interior of the head was loaded with blood bags and sponges and goo, and everybody's behind screens and's got face masks on because it's going to be a pretty big explosion. 3, 2, 1, boom! And the thing just vaporizes. When you look at it in slow motion, everything just goes. The 2 eyeballs go flying across the room, and everything's just completely vaporized. And this whole wig thing clears frame just enough for them to use that piece, and then it falls back into frame.